Hello and welcome to a special presentation from In the Money Media and the Breeders' Cup. This is our ITM Horseplayer Tour update. If you haven't been paying attention, this is a contest you want to get involved in because it's the best way to qualify for the best contest, the $10,000 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. The games are on Fridays. They cost $20 to play. The house cut goes to equine aftercare in the form of the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, as well as Therapeutic horses of Saratoga. The games themselves give you two ways to win your BCBC seat. One, what you call the traditional way, and we've had multiple people do this year. You feed into the Saturday regular qualifier, and you finish among the top finishers there. You can win a BCBC seat. Also, if you finish in the top four any week along the way, you will participate in our playoffs. They are coming up in, I should know that date off the top of my head. I don't, but basically in the weeks right before, the month right before the Breeders' Cup, those will begin. More details to follow. I want to thank the folks who have qualified, or thank for playing, and thank the folks who have punched their tickets for the playoffs. Beth Thacker, Michael Saletta, Rafael Lopez, David Lupo, Robert Weir, Matthew Miller, Sean O'Malley, John Camardo, Raj Satyan, Daniel Edwards, who won his second seat. Actually, Matt Miller and Sean O'Malley, also that was their second seats to the playoffs already. You can win up to 3. Daniel Edwards went one better. Then he went ahead and qualified, which was great to see. Theodore Bezel, Brett Weiner, Jim Herron, William Smith, Noah Meager, and Peter Rogers were the ones from last week. So lots of people playing and getting involved. We appreciate that so much. Hopefully it'll be your name we're reading on here when we do our monthly update. I may start doing some more updates too, just because I've been really enjoying, especially during these summer meets, being able to come on here, talk about some of these Friday races with the man that I'm about to introduce now. You know him from the work he does over at America's Day at the Races and here at the In the Money Media Network. He's Jonathan Kinchin. What's up, JK?
PTF, what's going on?
Getting excited to head to Saratoga, getting excited for a loaded weekend of Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, not Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge qualifying action, just Breeders' Cup qualifying action. The races are coming fast and furious, and I know you're pumped to see what clues for the Breeders' Cup we're going to get this weekend at Saratoga and around the country.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of opportunities. You know, you'll see some, I'd imagine we'll see a couple of horses on Saturday morning that will find a way into the Breeders' Cup juvenile races, whether it be on the turf or on the dirt. I would like to think that the winner of the Whitney would be participating in the Classic. The 4-star Dave, who has now moved to Whitney Day, not on the on a standalone weekend anymore, could probably produce a horse for the mile. The list goes on. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, the test as well could set up nicely for the filly and mare sprint. So big weekend for sure at Saratoga, but also for the Breeders' Cup.
You don't even have to wait till the weekend, actually. I'm remembering the way the calendar works this year to see some win and you're in action. Glorious Goodwood is going on, and we're going to have our man Stephen Bonnick covering that over for free on the inthemoneypodcast.com side. He'll be giving his thoughts about those races. He did an amazing job giving actionable betting information at Royal Ascot. He's going to do the same at Glorious Goodwood. Then we also have the Clement L. Hirsch this weekend, as well as you mentioned, the 4-star Dave and the Whitney. And then coming up next weekend, there's going to be more in the form of the Sword Dancer. But let's take a step back and talk about the Breeders' Cup Classic, JK. We haven't talked about your idea of the winner of the Whitney yet. Don't know how fully you've had a chance to look at that. But I'm going to ask you a more general question, and then I'm going to share some information with you that I've acquired from looking at betting markets around the world. When it comes to this Breeders' Cup Classic, from what we've seen the last couple of weekends with these Triple Crown 3-year-olds continuing to win races, are you more inclined to look at the 3-year-olds, or are you more inclined to look at the older horses?
Well, it's really tricky because I'm a huge fan of the group of 4-year-olds, right? The fact that we got a horse like Fierceness and Sierra Leone to come back for their 4-year-old years, I loved those 2 horses as 3-year-olds as well. And they lived up to it. They grew up. They ran extremely well in the Classic last year and ran 1-2. I would argue that both of their career best races were in that Breeders' Cup Classic. Now, the other problem is that I also love these 3-year-olds, right? I love Sovereignty. We know who he is. He's proven it to us on a number of occasions. I love Journalism. I think he's probably a cut below Sovereignty. But like we saw last year with Fierceness and Sierra Leone, these horses still have a chance to grow up. If Journalism and Sovereignty both grow up, wow, what a race we might be looking at in that Breeders' Cup Classic. If you had to hold my feet to the fire right now, I would side with the 3-year-olds. The reason being is Sovereignty is not too far off from a figure standpoint. And I think at 1.25 miles with a lot of pace to run at, he's going to have an advantage on Sierra Leone because Sierra Leone comes from so far out of it. He's going to be close enough to Fierceness in that situation. And there's still some upside for him to grow up a little bit. But don't get me wrong, I won't be too far away from our friends in the 4-year-old group because Fierceness is one of my favorite horses in training.
I'm going to give you some current prices just to make this decision even harder because the market agrees with you that the 3-year-olds are where it's at. Sovereignty generally as short as 2-1. The world been very impressed with him. Journalism, second choice in the market, 7-1. Then you bring in Fierceness at 9, and then horses like Sierra Leone and Forever Young at 10. Hearing those prices, does that make you change your answer at all?
Yeah, from a betting standpoint, if I had to just pick on the square who I think would win, if it was a 50-50 coin flip, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, I would take the 3-year-olds. When it comes to those betting prices, I would probably look elsewhere. I've also noticed that at this time, we only have the international markets to look at. I've always found that Godolphin horses, because of their international involvement in Godolphin, they're always a little bit overbet in this country. I guess it's just recognition. And look, he's a Derby winner. The Derby winner is always going to take a little bit of extra gas as well. So I don't think he should be that short. I do think that he's a likely horse to continue to improve.
Good stuff, JK. Thank you for that. Let's talk about this contest on Friday. As we record this, we don't yet have the official lineup that will be available. Very easy to find if you go to horseplayers.com and navigate over to the Horse Players, the ITM Horseplayers game. You'll see it there. It's the $20 feeder into Saturday. All the races will be posted there as of about the middle of the day on Wednesday. So you can see that. I'm not sure if these races from Saratoga we're going to be talking about will be in the contest, but they are likely to be, I would think, just from a time of day point of view. We're going to just look at the last 4 races. Maybe this ends up being bonus content. Maybe this ends up being analysis of some of the races in there. We do have loads of coverage of Saratoga and Monmouth and Del Mar for free on the website. Every day they run, a lot of the days of Colonial as well. Make sure you check that out. Just go to inthemoneypodcast.com and take a look at the latest blogs. Loads of free info to help you in your betting. But we're going to talk about these 4 races, starting with the National Museum of Racing Hall of Fame Stakes, a horse that you and I have been gushing over pretty much all year long. Zulu Kingdom making his return to the races. Is this race as simple as putting him on top and collecting as it's been the last couple of starts? Or do you, like me, think you can come up with a reasonable alternative in here?
Yeah, I mean, Zulu Kingdom is definitely the horse to beat in here, not only because of his resume, but I think if you want to dive a little bit deeper, last weekend, and something to keep in mind, last time Zulu Kingdom ran, he ran that July 4th weekend when the inside of the turf course, especially on the inner, is where you wanted to be. And he wasn't down there. He was in like the 2 or 3 path all the way around there. I thought he ran significantly better considering that he wasn't on the place that you wanted to be. So I think that there's an opportunity to like him out of that. I think he ran a lot better than it looked on paper, but he's going to be a short price because he still won. He still is probably regarded as the best 3-year-old turf horse in the country. So he's going to be a little bit overbet. I'd have no problem, depending on how you felt about the rest of the sequence, just picking up those points and taking those, because a lot of times think about how you need $3, $4, $5, $6 at the end of the race, at the end of the day, and you don't quite get there. So the one that I think is more attractive, though, from a value standpoint, is Clever Again. He's famously the horse and will probably always be famously as the horse. Took the worst of it in the Preakness. But he's worked on the turf for Steve Asmussen. The winningest trainer in North America has made the decision to run this horse on the turf. I'm going to just go ahead and side with him in that arena. And he's got some speed. And if he can handle the grass, like, I've always found horses like this to be huge weapons, tough enough to run hard all the way around there on the dirt. Now getting to a surface that he might actually appreciate more, and still have that tactical speed. Clever again will probably be my play in here. I think there's just too much value.
I get it. I mean, I've been saying about this horse in the write-ups I do over at theraces.com from the get-go. Gosh, look at this pedigree. American Pharaoh, the Galileo Dam. This one is supposed to be better on turf, and it's interesting how well this horse has been able to do on dirt up till, obviously a couple of well-publicized, trickier situations in Ohio and the Preakness. But yeah, he's an interesting candidate for the switch. I get him. I'm going to give Luther another chance. This was a horse that I really, really liked in the Belmont Derby. I thought he ran pretty darn well there to get within 2 of the winner, who was test score that day. I think it's interesting that they are turning him back to this distance, and I think he's a reasonable alternative who should be a decent price. So that's interesting. You and I both picked Zulu Kingdom the last several times, both going in different directions here. This race likely to be a real impact race when it comes to the horseplayers.com lineup on Friday. Another race that I think will be in it, because they sometimes tend to eschew maidens when there's a lot of unexposed form, but these are all horses you can look through their PPs and come up with something. So hopefully this race will be involved too. Race number 8. I really like the horse in here, Jonathan. Number 9, Come Full Circle. There's a couple angles in these maiden claimers I tend to really like. And one of them is when you can come up with a horse with some comparatively unexposed form. And I think that's what we're able to do with this horse. His best race was his dirt race. Been on turf since. Hasn't run as low as maiden 30. I just thought looked like a good wake-up candidate in a race where so many others have had their chances. We don't have even a morning line to guess the betting, but felt like a horse that might slide under the radar at least a little bit. I was interested in the 9, Come Full Circle. What do you think about this 8th?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 2, Omaha Pistol. I think there's a 2. There's not an entry, and I don't know what the numbers are.
2 is Omaha Pistol. You are correct.
Just making sure. This horse's best race was going 7 furlongs on fast dirt. He came back on the sloppy racetrack, didn't run well. Then he tried a mile, didn't run poorly, but still the best race was 7 furlongs. He's back to 7 furlongs. It's Linda at Saratoga. I'll take Omaha Pistol. I don't care what the price is.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. Certainly a contender. If I'm playing horizontals, one I'd be using. Here's a tip for those. Now, this might only be a tip for other people who do videos and podcasts. Maybe other people don't care about this, but maybe they do. There is a source where even when there's entries, you can get the program numbers early. It's our friends at Timeform US in the new way that their data is presented sort of underneath the umbrella of Formulator. If you click on that tab, even now in this next race, which does have an entry, which is why I mentioned it to your production meeting in the middle of the show, you can see numbers. Or you can just name the horses and leave it to your intrepid host to go back and button it up with the numbers. Either way, completely acceptable there. Okay, with that said, we will go on to the penultimate race at Saratoga on Friday. We've got a starter allowance on the turf going the flying 5.5. Who did you come up with in here, Jonathan?
I'm going to go with, am I muted? Nope. I'm going to go with, for the flying 5.5, I'm going to go with the Flying P Stables Chessmaster. I just, a cool 9-year-old. He ran extremely well last time. Jorge Abreu, I think, is one of the best trainers at Saratoga. And I've known that for a while, but I've just felt more comfortable saying it out loud. Not now that it's definitely somewhere that I feel comfortable operating, making that declaration. I thought this horse ran extremely well during that opening weekend, that July 4th weekend. One of those other horses that kind of circled in the middle of the track. I just think he's going to be tough, and so I'll go with the 1A Chessmaster.
And you get the entry mate along for the ride. Philosophically, in games like these $2 win places on horsetourneys.com and horseplayers.com, should mention there's a great opportunity, another way to support charity on this weekend over at horsetourneys.com. We have the LRF Cares Charity Challenge. Folks should check that out on Horse Tourneys. Of course, our game takes place on Horse Players, but it's the same format. In either case, I looked long and hard at these horses and ultimately was worried that because they were an entry, they might represent a little bit less value. Is that ill-founded by me? Is that something you worry about at all?
Value only matters if you win. And I think that's a mistake people often make, especially in $2 win plays, when you're not actually risking money. You're not when you're not at the window handing someone $20 to win, then there is some value on that risk, right? But when you're playing in a contest like this, I don't get too carried away with value, because it doesn't matter if the horse doesn't win.
And it's not like the entry mate is a no hoper either. So the other way to argue it would be, well, you're getting 2 for 1. Even if you're wrong about Chess Master, you still have another chance to, suck out, if you will, to throw the poker term in there. Let's get to the race that will almost certainly be part of this contest, which is the starter allowance going 1 mile and a 16th. That closes things out for us. I liked a horse in here, number 1, Twirly. Just had a bunch of interesting angles. I love the draw. I love the connections. I like horses that improve a lot in their last race, especially when they're doing something they haven't been doing recently. I also thought that last race might have been a little bit better than it looked, as I thought Twirly maybe moved a hair early. This was the one for me, for Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado. What did you like, and what's probably going to be one of the last? Well, they might pull in some Del Mar. It's so hard to know sitting here early week, but it'll be an important race in the contest, almost definitely. Who are you inclined to pick?
The 7, Leslie Starr. We talked about that turf course July 4th weekend. Seems like it's going to be a common theme that we're going to see this week. We're about a month out, so we're going to start seeing some of these horses run back again. I thought Leslie Starr ran well last time and was wide all the way around there. She's got a good number, good figure. You get Irad, who's been riding I know you've been paying attention, but he's been just riding like a crazy person.
Bat out of hell.
In a good way. Yeah, he's been good, man. He's been really, really good. And I think this actually probably improved switching to Linda. And that's where I would land this filly.
Love it. Great stuff, JK. Appreciate you coming on here. Appreciate everybody who supports us for the ITM Horseplayers Tour. Should have plugged this earlier. Great way to keep abreast of everything going on, specifically with the tour. We do a little special newsletter every week. It's free. InTheMoneyPodcast.com/email. Some exclusive content in there, and a good way to just get links to info that's going to help you. We want to be saying your name on these broadcasts and congratulating you in the newsletter. Get involved. Horseplayers.com, ITM Horseplayers Tour. While you're on the ITM YouTube channel, please help us out and subscribe and leave us a comment as well. Want to hear about your journey as you try to play in the BCBC. Who watching has played in the BCBC before? Maybe that's the question we'll throw to people. That's it for this edition of the show. We got lots more coming down the pike on the In the Money Media Network and the In the Money YouTube channel. For JK, I'm PTF. May you win all your photos.